Howdy, folks. Alright, I just want to take a quick few minutes here and go over the new Hero of the Month and the Weapon of the Month. So, the Mjolnir, 23% accuracy bonus. Sorry, that's critical chance. And then that is critical damage. Alright, so compared to some of the other yellow weapons out there, I don't see too many people chasing this one. Most people are going to go for the Ragnarok, right? If they ever offer it again, we'll see. We're getting to the end of all the original weapons of the month before they started repeating them. There's still quite a few more to go, so I don't know. Definitely half a dozen, I'm thinking. So the critical damage done by critical strikes. So the critical strike has to go off for this to kick in. And I don't know sometimes how helpful it is, to be quite honest. And you've got 23% critical chance, so increases the chance for critical strikes that do extra damage. I wonder if anybody, I do actually have this weapon, but I've never tested it. I wonder if anybody has tested it out there. If you have, I'd definitely like to hear some feedback about that, just to see how much it went off. Not made for defense, definitely for offense. That attack stat is good though. It really is. It's 245, it's quite high. So, you know, you could put it on a fast hero like Douchefist, I suppose, and see how much it goes off. Definitely not a weapon for any sort of support hero. So Nima, definitely, you don't want this on her. Ragnarok's better for her as it does speed her up, so. Yeah, it's an interesting weapon. And amazingly enough, I actually have 2 Ragnaroks in my collection, so I don't use it quite that much. I don't know what it is, but yellows is the color they give me the most of in weapons, and then purples is the color they give me the most of in heroes. So it's just everybody's account is like that in some ways, because green weapons are terrible for me, and I'm sure there's others that have a color in both heroes and weapons that the system just won't give them. RNG's is nasty that way. Alright, so Parsect. Parsect is a measurement in astronomy. I find this name quite hilarious, but it's cool at the same time. So, I'm sure she doesn't travel light years. For anybody out there, fun fact of the day, what is it? 3.262 light years is a parsec. It's like quite a lot of space out there. It's a bit crazy. And when you consider, one of my teammates said this yesterday, so when you consider it's about 30 trillion miles between a lot of stars, like even in our own galaxy, that's like 1.5 parsecs. It is insane when you think about it. Lots out there in the universe, huh? Alright, so she doesn't look like too bad of a hero. Are there others that are probably better in purple? Yeah, I mean, you got Flak. Just chews everybody up and spits them out on one shot. It's ridiculous. But I think she's a better version of Letitia, and I do have Letitia in my roster here. And I believe the charge speed's a lot better than Letitia. And then she's kind of got some combination elements with Emma, from what I can see. And I know a couple of my teammates have got her. I don't think they've totally leveled her up fully yet, but I know quite a few of them were really happy to get her, so. I think she looks pretty well-rounded, but again, you get some of the overpowered heroes out there, and then heroes like this that are good and look pretty solid kind of fall by the wayside. So I can't imagine any of the big whales in the game wanting to chase her, to be honest, because they probably have some of the other purples that outdo her. So that attack stat does seem a little bit low. Good defenses, so she'll stay around longer. And yeah, that looks average for health. It's not bad. So 57 average, well, 58 is the break point. So in her class, in her support class, if you don't have a speed weapon to add to her, like you don't have the Inksplosion, then once you get that far with emblems, it will make her functionally faster, and she will be up to 58 and drop a tile off of charging. And I think that it's pretty low ghosted tiles too. Like, I think it might only be 4 if you're ghosting tiles to charge her up again, because this kind of reminds me of Stinger, because I think Stinger's right around that as well. And Stinger only takes 4 ghosted to charge up again, I believe it is. So yeah, that makes it quite good, and the fact that the emblem speed node actually does help her make her functionally faster. And then, you know, it's, what is it, 65, so if she's at 58 to 65, so, you know, an Inksplosion would get her over 65 if I'm calculating that right, and she'd be high end fast at that point. So, because what is an Inksplosion, 7 or 9? Not sure right off the top of my head, I'll have to check. So yeah, that makes it just all that much better, because she does do, you know, it's palpable damage. Like, I don't see 210 damage to the target being too much, but then she hits other targets, damage to 3 additional random enemies, which is kind of like Emma does, right? So she would be good for the War Machine in that respect, because Emma just pelts the War Machine. Same with Letitia. At least Letitia's, I don't know, kind of too slow for a War Machine. I have other better purple options, but she's going to do the same thing and just repeatedly hit one enemy, right? So against one enemy, like, that's phenomenal. If she's up against a team of 5 and more, then she's going to do that damage to all the random enemies. I think she would pair well with Umbra, though. Like, I have Umbra, and I do put Letitia and Umbra together quite a bit, because they can follow Umbra's hit, which does defenses down, with Letitia. And that's exactly what I would do if I got Parsec. So I think that would make it even more devastating, especially to the War Machine, by hooking those two up together, because I think they would have a lot of synergy. The attack bypasses random defensive buffs, including counterattacks. Well, we have a green that is a tank quite a lot out there now. So knowing this one could hit without retaining damage on that counterattack is pretty sweet. There are more buff dispellers coming out, though, like, thankfully. Like, for the longest time, I only had Wildcat. And then I don't have Sure Shot leveled in this account, so she has buff dispelling, but she's unfortunately been stuck at 480 for ages, because the system keeps giving me purples, so I don't know that I'll ever get her leveled. And then, so the only usable ones I had was Wildcat and Pantera. And now they're coming out a little bit more to counter some of these heroes that have so many buffs up, like the counter attack, and it's insane. And like Aviana does a bunch of buffs, Coyote, of course, with the defenses up, so it's nice to have this worked in a little bit more. So she's not a buff dispeller, but she can bypass the defensive buffs. There are a couple heroes like that, and it's awesome. And it's nice to see that they're putting buff dispelling as a priority, because, you know, you got the Zidane suit is a buff dispeller now, so is the throttle suit. So it's nice to see these little things coming in because they are quite helpful. Yeah, Ayumi, gosh. Between her hit and the counterattack, she's a friggin' devastating hero. And super annoying, so... I don't know, this would be somebody to maybe try out countering Ayumi. Especially if there's a yellow flank to her. Or if it's a yellow tank and she's a flank. Because sometimes that happens, especially with the amount of alliances still using yellow tanks, so... Alright, and last thing is a shock. The target receives 112 damage whenever they receive a buff for 3 turns. So again, that's pretty cool, because if you got Aviana in there, and you've got, say, a Coyote in these different combinations where they do attack up, or defense up, or counterattack, or whatever the case may be, because there are some people stacking their teams like that now. It's a slick move, for sure. Because they're hard to get around, but this, if she's already hit them and then all of a sudden Aviana goes off, then that 112 damage for 3 turns could end up snuffing somebody out. You never know, right? Yeah, support class. She's got to compete with a lot of heroes for those talents. You got Nima, Jocasta, Stupid Verminous, that darn tin can. Yeah, so there are a lot of them. Or actually, he might not be support class. I think he is, though. I can't remember. I don't have him on my roster, but... Yeah, so to me, she looks pretty good. She looks solid in kind of an all-around way. Yeah, she's 44 average. And she's dealing a lot less damage to the target, so... she looks like a souped-up Letitia to me. I definitely give her a spot on my roster and continue to have Sure Shot stuck at 480 if I got her. I have absolutely no ghillie suits though till I beat the special ops one. So, you know, like I find these 3, Umbra, Cashmere, and Letitia, a good combination. So, I mean, yeah, I'd take Parsec in a heartbeat, right? And Ramhorn taking care of minions. Sometimes I do Umbra, Ramhorn, and Letitia, depending on who I'm fighting for that combination. And Parsec would only make that so much more better between the combination of this special and Emma's special, where she does additional random enemies. And same here, like it's 135%. Like sometimes Emma's hit is like a wet noodle. Like honestly, that's a synergy quote right there, by the way. Emma hits like a wet noodle. But then I combine her with attack up or defense down like Umbra or Marina or Logan or something like that, and then it gets a little bit better. But yeah, when you compare like straight up how the special is compared to other heroes similar, like I don't know. To me, I think she looks decent. So, alrighty, folks, that's it for today. I just wanted to get that in before too much more time passed in August. Take care, everyone. Hope you have a good war.